Welcome to The One Thing on Edge Radio Australia with Lisa, Leanne and Aaron. Each episode we open Pandora's box on a hot topic that challenges conventional views, sparking conversations that inspire change and shape a better future.
Hello! Yeah.
Oh, look at this.
She's a kicker, all right?
Tell you right now. Live yet?
Live yet?
Now we're live!
Early.
If you found my brother Mario, just look. Can you give him my address? Okay, really?
Yeah. One of my pet peeves is the pressure that people put them on themselves, particularly at times like Christmas. I feel like there's so much hypocrisy that happens. People haven't seen family members forever. Then all of a sudden they feel this pressure to have this particular looking and feeling Christmas.
How long it's taken for this government to acknowledge that. People have been injured, people have died, and they have not put some kind of motion forward to have it stopped and banned in Australia.
You know what I'm seeing now in my mind? I'm seeing all these little happy emojis. Like I'm seeing all those little smiley face emojis
just going
running
around.
all through my body, like just doing their thing.
So now this
To me at the front.
I really feel like we're
doing
about
a
to.
shuffle.
I thought we were going to do the hokey pokey. That's what's going on here. Right.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
personally, I'm a fan of this one.
Okay, Leanne, we cannot see you. Leanne, get your whole body in. Aaron, you're not getting away with this.
There was some 80s man dancing.
Well, look, no, it just shows my boobs. That's it. All right, go.
Welcome to Aaron's Hell on Wheels, otherwise known as The One Thing. I'm already terrified. We have beverages and we have a cast of thousands, thousands of the most wild women in the West. I guess simple. This is the wild, wild West right now. Shall I introduce everyone? No, I shan't.
Yes, you shall.
No. I'm going to throw to Lisa. Okay, Lisa. Yeah, take these headphones.
Frankly, I think you should.
Quite frankly, I think you should too. Absolutely. Right there you go. Then maybe show through.
All that straight back.
Okay,
absolutely.
All right. Geez. Okay. Well, to my right, who is my right-hand person right now? I can't say man, otherwise there could be issues. Yes.
Female.
Female.
So you can call me
Okay.
female.
Okay. How do you identify?
Lady.
Lady.
Woman.
Lady. Okay. Right.
Lady.
Lady. I'm a lady. She's
I'm a lady.
lady.
Right hand.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. It's Leanne. Fantastic to
Hi,
have
everyone.
Leanne here. Wonderful. Going around the room, we've got the lovely Martine, or Martini in this particular case, who's got a drink. The lovely Robin, of course. Courage is the cure as well. Great. And Lisa, who just didn't want to do the intro. Fantastic. Let's get into the show. I don't even know what today's about. All I know is I'm horrendously outnumbered and a little bit terrified. Just a little bit.
A little bit
A
terrified.
little bit terrified. Not a little scared, genuinely terrified. But there we go. This could go anywhere. We've already got comments coming in. So there we go. Great to see a comment coming in from Rachel. Rachel, who I went to school with, by the way. Isn't this funny? There we go.
Rachel, how are you?
Love to see her.
Thank you for
Fantastic.
joining. How are you going?
So is that a friend of yours?
Rachel is one of the wonderful people that regularly tunes in at Courage is the Cure,
Yeah.
Relentless and Rise.
So what was her experience like at school with Aaron?
We've never talked about it.
You'd have to ask Aaron.
The whole show on its own.
Ah, there
Hang on,
we
here
go.
we go. Come
No,
on.
Rachel's come straight to my defence
Oh,
here. Look at this.
roses.
Aaron Malloy.
The thorn amongst the roses.
Oh, here I thought I was going to get some level of defence, but no. Oh, dear.
Love
Well, I have
that.
got black thumbs, so there we
So
are.
we have gathered today
Mm.
for such.
We have gathered today.
We have gathered
In
for this
holy
thing called
matrimony.
love.
Oh.
So
Oh, okay, let's
Brace
get into it.
yourselves.
Mm.
Brace yourselves.
So, Lisa, what are we doing here today? What's going on?
okay, so we invited Martine to come back to our show
Mhm.
because she just provided so much value last time that she was on.
Certainly did.
And Martine is very busy. I'm going to call you an activist. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Are you
Yeah.
sure?
Yeah. I think there's probably one of the hats that I wear, but definitely activist.
Yeah. So
Planetary activist too.
Oh, nice.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
Just, like
I mean, your commitment and love for this planet is just blows me away, and I've just got so much respect for you, and it's such an honour to have you on here. And I know that you and Robin have joined forces for a lot of different things, and we're going to be talking.
the world should be scared, I think.
The world,
They should be.
the world should be scared.
I will add, though, that, look, Rachel has piped up, and I appreciate this.
Yes.
Said Aaron was a delight.
Was a
So, yeah,
delight,
just so
yes,
we can now move forward safely. It's okay.
Okay.
Interrupted that. Lovely
All right.
intro.
Excellent.
That's why I did it. That's why I did it. That's exactly why I did it.
To save the world. So when we were communicating, it was very important to you, Martine, to move forward on today's show on a particular topic. Would you like to share with everybody what that is and your reasoning?
I think we touched on a little bit before about how there's been so much division and so much has been planned to cause division in our communities and throughout Australia, but here, Robin, you talk about it, I talk about it, and whether it's, you know, an experimental jab and injuries that are happening, or there's politics, but it always comes back to politics, I guess. So we're having a rally this weekend, and the whole attempt is to unite so many different groups across Western Australia, because the thing is we have way more in common than we have in difference. We actually know that, and I think that unfortunately there is that ideology, or there is a belief system that's put in place because there's a narrative running, and people either believe in certain narratives and belief systems or not. And this is where it's a time to really get into, let's come back together and unite, because as a state and as a nation, if we don't do that, I think we're a bit of a nation and state lost.
Shall I pop up the poster so we can all see what everything's about?
Yes,
Why not,
please.
indeed? Let's do that.
Yeah, so you can see here we've got some amazing groups. So we've got people coming down from Kalbarri, from Keep Kalbarri Beautiful.
Beautiful.
We've got people representing Esperance that are coming up to speak. We've got some other mystery guest speakers. I'm not going to now.
Ooh,
You've
it's a mystery.
Bit of intrigue.
Yes,
Love it.
a little mystery to draw them in, as they say, as us ladies would say. Wouldn't you say, Robin?
Oh, married, but okay.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you
Maybe the
say
mystery is
will
that you
definitely
just
be
keep
used.
going home at some point. Is that what that? Oh, you're home, darling. Nice.
No, I'm lucky I work from home. No, but the guests, you've got 𝐔𝐍𝐈𝐓𝐄 Fisheries, and I noted that Mr. Albert Sneezy, of course, on the federal campaign trail, has been, you know, talking about the salmon and how he loves everyone down in Tasmania. No, he doesn't. So come to the rally, Martine, the other guests.
Yeah. So, yeah, Robin is going to be in this one with us. She's emceeing.
So maybe let everyone know a little bit about yourselves, Martine.
Oh, me.
Or maybe tell one another.
I had a laugh. I caught up with a friend, a childhood friend that we've been friends for 6 years. So hi, big call out to Tam. Tab and I have known each other since we're 6, and we've been through some really interesting times. And although we don't catch up a lot, it's been a while since we have, which was the pre-scamdemic. When we did, we had a big laugh the other day because she said, "Oh my God, you've always been like an activist." And I said, "Yeah, it was Save the Stump at school."
It was Save the World.
Save the Stump.
Oh, yeah.
This is no Williams, like no.
Oh, Martine and I had a really lovely long conversation about that today. It was great.
I really want to know what
I
the
was
story
moved.
is.
There's this beautiful eucalyptus tree that was in our quadrangle at Meriden Senior High School, at Bogan Central, where I went to high school.
I love the way she said that with the Aussie inflection.
I know.
Meriden Senior High School.
Bogan Central.
So they cut it down because they said it was diseased. And then there was this stump that was there for a long, stump there for a long time. And it seemed to be like the zone of like Switzerland. It was always a neutral zone. And there was always this kind of, everyone took turns in their group circles from sitting on the stump. No one was allowed to monopolize. And to me, it was like great because it just showed that there was a lot of like, there's not the hierarchy. If you got there first, it's your stump. That's yours for the
For the
recess
day.
or your lunch or afternoon recesses that used to be. No, don't have that anymore. Or before school. And so the thing is that then we got wind that they were going to take out the stump while we're all on holiday.
Oh.
So it wasn't the best campaign, but we came up with an extremely creative name for it, which was Save the Stump.
Not very good.
It was
for
a working
marketing.
group that put that
but
together.
it says it all. And especially if you want to start a good band, here's some hot tips, with a memorable name or a successful campaign.
Yeah.
It's got to be 3 syllables.
Yeah.
Save the stump.
Oh,
so
there you go.
I
That's
think
a
it's
great band name. Save the stuff.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if it was Nugget or myself. So
Nugget.
you can share that now. If it was like.
So was
Right.
it your first campaign, was it, Martine?
Look, I got to be honest. I think I was very much an environmentalist from when I was a very, very small child.
Uh-huh.
It concerned me what was happening in Africa. I used to draw pictures of stuff, and I used to say to my mum and dad, like, we need to protect these animals, which was very true at the time. There was a lot of trophy hunting that was going on in Africa at the time.
And how old were you?
About 3 or 4.
Wow.
So it was just in my DNA.
Yeah.
I think I was a born warrior.
Yep.
The name Martine means warrior.
Does
Warrior,
it?
not
so
warrior.
Did not know that.
My name
Yeah.
actually means the divine warrior who watches over her flock. And I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
Oh, that's
Take
pretty
that.
cool.
That's
Yeah.
Gotta be
incredible.
happy
So
with
do you
that.
mind being called an activist, Robin? Are you comfortable with that?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
I am an activist, amongst other things. It's quite odd. Up until recently, people haven't asked me to describe myself or what I do. So yeah, I've nutted it down to independent, free content creator. I'm also independent journalist, and I'm using that word in the bestest way,
Agreed.
not the
Agreed.
it's a word
Or
made
paid
up.
for.
The best.
Yes, not
Yeah.
the ones that are disgusting, awful, horrible prostitutes. And the other one is editor as well. So yeah, I have found a whole new career. But everything that I did prior to that has actually set me up very well. So I feel like because I knew what I wanted to do when I was very
I
young.
was just going to say, I know Martine set the bar very high with Save the Stump. Do you have a story of what your first one was?
Well, actually,
oh my God, I knew it was soulmates from the beginning.
Oh dear, this is already going pear-shaped.
would you believe it?
Good to see you, shall we?
I was astounded. My folks were, getting rid of some stuff and all the rest of it. Next thing you know, my dad comes walking down and says, "Look what I found." And it was a newspaper article from our local newspaper rag in the hills, because I'm a bush lady. And apparently the local rag had come around to my high school in about year 8 or year 9. And I was part of some program to I have no memory of this, but there's photographic evidence.
Robin,
I have the
was there a
newspaper-
special bus?
No.
Did it involve licking windows?
God. I was part of a special program to educate people about voting.
Oh.
And I'm there with this person and a ballot box. Yes, I have no memory of it.
Really?
It was in the news. I
Was
had
it
the
the
article.
Labour Party that paid you
I
off?
have no idea. I have no idea.
Oh dear.
These two are like the Muppets, aren't they, over here? On the
Yeah, absolutely on the balcony, absolutely.
We are. We're on the balcony. We
like
are.
the Muppets on the
Looking
balcony.
down, having a
Kermit
good
the
chuckle
Frog
at
and Miss
stuff.
Piggy.
But I think that's
Kermit, because the green, no.
Oh.
Just want to take one quick,
God, it's gone
one
south.
moment. Just can we
It's gone
just
south.
can we pause between snorts for a moment? I want to just say hello to the people who have been online and putting some great messages up. So thank you, Mark. Great to see you, mate. Trish, fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Thanks,
This
Trish.
woman called Courage Secure. She's a bit weird, but she's on there as well. Top chick, I'm told.
Oh,
but, you know,
yes, that's me.
there's nothing to back her up. Exactly right.
Thank you, very clever.
Rachel has, of course, put up some fantastic comments. And who else we got there? If I can, there we go. Eddie as well. Thank you so much for your beautiful comments and questions. If you've got questions, don't be shy. Get in there.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
Well, I
Yeah.
haven't been shy, but I should give you guys a chance to ask
Oh, well, I'm
questions.
sitting here. I'm just.
No, we're just watching the show.
Yeah.
We really are. It's great. It's great. Ching ching. We've been
exactly
cheersing
right.
each other
Sorry,
and
very
everything.
quickly.
Oh.
Yes, do that.
I think that whatever it was that I was involved in at school to do with voting, I think, because I've always known something's off, something's afoot.
Yeah.
And so I think, that was just another step in my back step from indoctrination,
Yeah.
setting me up further to
Did
knowing.
it say on your school report, does not play well with others? Is that what it was? Or
No, talk too much in class.
Not entirely true, though.
Okay, so
she does play well.
For those watching,
And we get shushed for it.
Oh, yes, we get sure.
for
That's
those
what I'm saying.
watching
Nothing wrong
that
with that.
don't understand what you mean by that, what do you mean by indoctrination?
The education system is designed and for no other reason than to indoctrinate children. It started in the early 1900s with the Carnegie Foundation. If nobody's heard of the Carnegie Foundation, and Mr. Carnegie in particular, knew all about oil and steel, but for some reason wanted to change the education system. You want to go and have a look at that. So, yeah, unfortunately, and even more so now in the past, I would say 5 to 10 years, with the woke ideology creeping in, and our students coming through university and filtering out into the education system have also been indoctrinated. And so now woke ideology has filtered into every single subject in our primary schools and our high schools.
So you mean brainwashed? Is that what you mean?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And like the original reason for the education system, for schools and formal education, was to teach people how to work in factories.
Yeah,
That's what it was for, right?
Creating workers,
Exactly. It was all about creating workers.
creating employees.
And it very much is now being used in a social sort of way to break down society and to make very compliant. Hang on, what did McGowan call us? We're a very compliant population, aren't we? Well, some of us might be. Not in this room, that's for sure. But it's true. It is to weaken, quite frankly, the breed. I mean, honestly, it is to get control over people.
Just to connect education with the theme of the show, which is unity in Western Australia.
Oh, is that what it is?
I'm studying to be a teacher as well. And look at him.
I just want to say, and we can see it particularly at the moment with mainstream media and the stories they're pumping out now because of the hate laws and all the rest of it, and particular groups protesting outside of schools. You know, we can see that this division is sowed not only by our teachers and the education system, but by our governments, by our corporate media, who are throwing this out like nobody's business for everybody to watch. And so the seeds of everything that could be wonderful are actually stifled and kept under the soil because that division is sowed at school.
And they only heard one narrative or one side of an equation.
There are so many families now, though, that have come out of that school system. Over the last 4 years, it's been a huge number have dragged their kids out, and kudos to them, because I think that's a really great idea. But how do they then become part of a group and a system where they can actually grow together? Like, how do we see that? You know, you're saying bringing everyone in together. How can we incorporate everyone in together instead of being pushed aside?
Do you mean in education?
And on the whole, bit
of both, really.
Bit of both, yeah.
Well, I think there's a real. I mean, for anybody that hasn't spent any time watching my shows, I have a real bugbear for corporate media. And so broadly, you know, we really need to acknowledge that those pieces of information that are missing, and in this case, we're talking about unity.
Yes.
Those pieces of information about how valuable unity is, the mechanisms that we utilise to benefit from unity. That information just about that one topic is lacking within our school systems.
Of course it is.
Being portrayed on mainstream, portrayed through Hollywood, through our music. So just information on how we benefit from unity would be wonderful, would be a great thing.
It would be. And a couple of things. I want to sort of address a couple of the questions that have come in and comments as well. So Lisa with a little L, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. It's a big L, but, you know, I wanted to get the 𝐤𝐤𝐻 reference in. Is there? It's just who I am. Now, if there's a lot of money behind the indoctrination and media, how do you hold your own against it? That's the question.
So I agree with what you said, Robin, and I think that unity is only relevant to the system that's teaching it. So that's where the indoctrination. So in the current system, there is unity as long as you're compliant.
Yeah.
So you're given the boundaries and you're given the spectrum of where you're normal or acceptable in society. And if you're outside of that, then you can't be in unity. And this is where the indoctrination is that if you're outside like a different spectrum, and I'm not saying that we are on a different spectrum. Yet,
Oh, I definitely am.
No.
Definitely. No question.
So neurodivergent, I would say that let's kick off with that, because neurodivergent really, to me, indicates that there are a lot of souls coming in to look at things from a different perspective that challenge the narratives and the boundaries that are here. And they look at things from and see the world in a very different way, or they feel a connection to the world in a different way.
That's a great point.
So this is where coming back to the feeling state is so important, because having a connection to systems, the natural system, and to community, and that's why when you don't have that connection to community, they lose connection with self. So that's why when you look at a lot of like different tribes in Africa or South America and stuff, and it's so important to be part of community there and to be, even if there's something that goes astray, let's bring it back in and regroup and don't punish, instead of let's focus on the remedy.
This shows so much the alignment, okay, of what we're talking about, and actually our audience here. Another great comment that's come through from Lisa. There's also the divide in the national identity. How do we all come together when we have different backgrounds? So you've just said about different tribes. It's so true.
Great question.
We might be of different tribes. That's what makes life interesting, okay?
Totally.
Like life would be very dull if we were all alike. It's such a big deal.
But we've been pushed aside and we've been pushed away and we've been like segregated, so much so in our own individual tribes, so to speak. So how do we bring that all together? Ladies,
Open dialogue for a start for me. Open conversation and knowing that you need to give yourself permission to speak truth. That's authentic. And then you need to realize that other people's responses or the way that they act in response to that is on them and not you.
It's okay. This is kind of the flip of the other side of it. Is I love what Morgan Freeman says about racism. Have you ever seen that? Okay.
Yeah.
How do we stop racism? Morgan Freeman, right?
Stop using the word.
Stop talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop talking about
please.
it. Honestly, it's the most dumb thing ever. I think we're all within, a very small, very, very small part of the population is still living in that ridiculous world where they see people differently. Most of us don't, okay? Most of us are muggles. We've got mixed blood. We're a bit of this, bit of that. And we are bitzers, absolutely. But this is the beauty of it, okay? This is what brings us together. And we should be embracing our differences. Having said that, I say that, when you come to a country like Australia, you need to assimilate. You need, you need
that's
common
not
ground.
being done either.
No, it's not. The division is working. So what you're doing is creating division and creating those tribes, and then you're throwing those tribes against each other in combat, effectively.
I'd like to say just as equally on the other side as well, it's very important because I agree we need to stop talking about it, especially when we're in developed nations. I mean, God, we all wear big girl pants and big boy pants, and we're all very responsible people for the most part, unless you're a reprobate. But we have to, just as equally on the other side, we need to acknowledge racism, true racism, and when either men or women are subjugated and segregated and discriminated. We've had the example this week, and this is absolutely abhorrent. This is my opinion, and I'll just say that up front. Senator Fatima Payman saying that Iranian women don't face those problems in their country. Absolutely outrageous. And so I'm going to say that to truly acknowledge the trials and tribulations of human beings, we need to be honest about this. And Payman's comments were not honest, and that adds to the problems, the division, the continual segregation, discrimination of women, and people standing up like that and saying things, particularly when they're in a place of power, sends the wrong messages.
Well, I'm going to say something very, very dangerous in this room full of women.
Here we go.
Women who live in the Western world have never had it so good. Okay, that's the reality. There's never been a safer time to be a woman in humanity in the Western world. That is a wonderful thing. This is something we should celebrate. This is something that we should talk about. And we shouldn't lie about all the lies that we play around with domestic violence, because most of them are lies, okay? There's a lot of lying going on there. How about we use our efforts to actually talk about the real problems? Let's talk about Indigenous women who what they go through in this country is horrendous.
Mm.
Women in other countries who are under ridiculous regimes, or well, I was going to say religious-based laws that don't allow them to do
That
things.
as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely, right?
Yes.
You're right. Let's say the quiet bit out loud. And this is the
Yes.
problem. So many people have been made to fear telling the truth,
That's
right?
right.
And this is what's wonderful about being in a room with you guys, girls, right? Is ladies. But the truth, okay, the truth is so important. Freedom of speech matters. It's why it's written on the back of our t-shirts right now.
Yes.
It's so important, and that's why, I don't agree with everything that Robin says. I don't, right? Okay. No, I don't. We'll get out there and have a ding dong in a while, right? But I absolutely love her for the fact that she says it. She's out there and very real. And I find the same with you.
And we
Actually, everyone in this room.
we don't have to have the
So
same
important.
opinions.
And
So
that
important.
anyone I interview,
Yep.
we can have differing opinions, just like when you interview people. I'm sure it's the same
Absolutely.
for all of you.
Everyone.
We don't have to agree. We're losing that art of discussion and debate. Already talked about that before.
And
but
that's the thing that actually, going back to debate, I don't know if that's ever done in schools now either.
no,
I
don't think
remember
so.
when we were in primary school,
Yeah.
we were actually put in front of and had debating teams. I don't know if you girls ever had that, but
Yeah,
we
we
had
did.
debating teams, and
Yeah.
when we discussed the topics, and it was great because you got different perspectives from everyone,
you
and
had
there
to
was never an
research as
argument.
well.
Well, now people's feelings would be hurt.
Oh.
Let's
Oh,
remember
gosh.
2 + 2 equals bananas. Your feelings matter and facts don't. And so, because people's feelings would be hurt, it'd be too divisive. The teachers can't deal with it. They're indoctrinated with the work ideology. They don't know how to successfully educate their students about how to debate in a successful manner. I mean, look at the examples we have in Parliament. I mean, they don't even debate anything. They just ram it through,
Yep.
voted at
Yes.
1:30 in the
After
morning,
hours,
Yeah.
and that's
yeah.
it.
Didn't get the invite.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I got lost.
Now, speaking of Canberra,
Oh God, yes.
Yeah,
Push that button.
Okay.
so let's get back to this rally.
Yeah.
Whose idea was this rally?
Oh, absolutely mine.
Okay, so you're the driving force behind it.
Safe
So,
dump.
so it's
Yeah.
happening because
Oh.
of you.
Yeah, so Save Our Beloved Geograph Bay has been working with so many different communities across WA, and we've spoken and met with so many stakeholders that we realised again that there has been a magnificent, I call it almost like a miracle, a breakdown in the barriers. And so because we've come and had these very insightful, very intelligent discussions with lots of different communities and groups, they're not like, oh, they're campaigners and they're greenies and they're radicals. And it's like, well, I'm someone who likes to come at things with logic and the science and make sure that I've got the science solid. I said, and then I've got the driving passion to keep pushing it through. So for me, I just went, okay, so I have been working relentlessly
Yeah.
on making sure we connect and we show that we are very unified in West Australia, and I feel like it's really there. I have had phone calls from people that I never thought that I would have phone calls from that have said we're like on your side, and I've had people
Wonderful.
saying things to me that I'm like, oh my God, like.
Fantastic.
And one day I had 3 people that I never thought I would ever hear out of their mouths, like, this is an outstanding achievement so far of what we've got. And it's like,
Yep.
when we don't even have a beer budget for Save Our Beloved Geograph.
That needs to get fixed.
And so,
You got to have a beer budget.
and that's the thing is, like, we have been able to create this monumental community that is coming united against net zero. Because if you understand, or you can really comprehend the global agenda that is behind net zero, it is the total destruction of local communities
Sure.
and sustainable practices. So that is like sustainable food supplies, and it's making sure that our electricity grid is going to be like easily interrupted or manipulated. So net zero will cost us everything if we don't unite, especially the impact on farmers,
Oh,
fishing industry, and we're talking about food security.
yeah.
That is no laughing matter. So when we've got the rock lobster industry, the professional fishing,
Mhm.
recreational fishing, and then you've got your farmers, we've
Yeah.
got like live export.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's not
terrible.
just keep the sheep,
No.
it's about keeping live export.
Of course.
Now, I'm advocating for these people. I keep saying, I'm a vegetarian.
And yet we're still friends. How does that
And yeah,
work? Come
this
on.
is the point, is like, I do not at any point condone destroying entire economies and the backbone of this state and nation for some insane, psychotic ideology that comes from global agendas from the World Economic Forum, the Paris Accord, which has nothing to do with our nation and our state.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Bugger off.
It's
with
about
that
time we put our
ideology.
big girl panties on and
and tell
did
these
something
corporations
about it.
to bugger off.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what net zero is about.
Well, you know, not only with net zero, where are the good old greenies back in the day when we were
Oh,
young?
yes.
They've disappeared. And on top of, you
That's
know,
part of their agenda.
the live export, especially with the sheep in particular, the Honourable Sophia Mamond has made a really good point, and I'll just point out she is running for the upper house in the WA state election at the moment.
True,
Top of the line. She made a really good point about, in particular, speaking on the export industry of live sheep. You know, it's already happening and devastating family farms, all the rest of it. But, you know, relating that back to greenies, when we're talking about animal welfare, you know, when we do away with that, don't we have a moral responsibility to fellow creatures on the earth? Because if Australians aren't doing it when we already have high standards, whether or not you agree with that, I would purport that we have higher standards of exporting live animals than other countries.
Agreed.
Don't we have a moral responsibility to stand up for fellow sentient beings and say, look, isn't it better that Australia, who has high standards
Doing the right thing.
of shipping
Exactly.
these sheep, continue to do so
And
in a
this
manner
is-
that's
this
responsible?
This is important. Okay, I'm completely against the old net zero and the 2030 carry on, all that sort of carry. I really am, because of all these negative things. But the media has turned this into then you hate the environment. I mean, you're an anti-greenie.
I'm happy to reply to that.
And this is the thing, though. Again, they're weakening people.
Really?
Right? Really. Well, as a greenie, right? How do you feel about that?
Okay, so people say, "Oh, you're a greenie." I said, "Look, I'm not a watermelon. Not one of you greenies."
Explain what that is for those who don't know.
I am the old school ecology-based greenie that's all about sustainability and protection of habitat and biodiversity.
Right.
And if something goes against all of those things, then we are red flagged all over, and this should not even be put into our nation.
Now,
as far as an
you've just said red flag. That's very, very important, okay? And you said before about the watermelon. This is so... I'm going to look down the camera on this one. This is important. Do not vote for the Greens. The Greens have nothing to do with environments. They don't care about the environment. They are socialists. They are watermelon party. They are green on the outside, red on the inside. They are communism light is what they are. And if you vote for them or you vote for Labor, you're literally voting against yourself. You're voting for control. And they have done an excellent job at marketing themselves, but that's exactly what this is, a marketing job. It is spin. It is not fact. These people are actually going to hurt your lifestyle. Well, they are hurting your lifestyle. Yep. And, this whole, zero by 2030, all that sort of thing is going to destroy all of these lives, all of these industries. It is so important. Please don't vote for these unhinged lunatics. And that's what they are.
So
they
who
really
would you
are.
recommend people vote for?
I knew you'd do that to me, but I actually...
Labour last, Greens last, and then you need to find yourself a very good, wise independent that is going to fight and get in there and in Parliament and shake it up.
So are you running?
Not this year.
See you in 4 years.
You never know.
You never know. But no, it's important to do your research and find the person who is actually aligned with your values. That's massively important. Ask them questions, right? Find out what they're about.
That's a great question, Lisa. Do you think that people could stand against Big Corp? Absolutely, we already have. We already have. We've proved that by not buying certain things. Like there was a lot of boycotting of lots of different industries and products.
Yep, and it does work. And I'll give you a dollar and cents sort of reason for that. Gillette. Now, a few years ago, Gillette did a completely anti-men, anti-boys campaign that was so destructive to boys. And, if you want the great men of tomorrow, don't destroy the boys of today, right? Mm-hmm. And that Gillette went after that and tried to make everything about being a man and everything about being masculine toxic, right? Which is ridiculous. Because I tell you right now, if your house is on fire, no one's looking for a feminist, right? Okay. That was so destructive. Now, I went out there like so many others, and I actually made a video and I threw all my Gillette products. I've been using Gillette since I was 15 years old.
Well, the rabbit hole goes deep with
Oh,
Gillette.
yeah,
so we'll
it
have that conversation.
certainly does. But I threw it all in the bin, out there in the green bin, right? And millions of men around the world did the exact same thing.
Bravo.
Now, within a month, they lost $8 billion, $8 billion from the value of that company, right?
So small people have a big impact.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that is great. So many great points to
Well,
bring up here.
and that's very important. Hi, Yvonne. I look forward to seeing you on the weekend. Really important when you talk about unity, because people always say, well, I'm only one person, what can I do? And you said, especially, go woke, go broke is the newest phrase
Love
with big corporations that do ridiculous things with their ad campaigns. But just as equally, it's significant when you get all those individuals together, and whether or not they're part of, Save Our Beloved Geograph Bay campaign or Keep Kalbarri Beautiful campaign, when all of those people come together and unite, wonderful, magical, fantabulous, word coined it, things happen.
You're right. And we've got stronger and stronger. I would have to say the unification of WA, I have been observing. I was a bit concerned last year, about June, July last year, there was a bit of apathy, but it's great. Labor and Liberal have shown their hand in Parliament with these uni-party moves that they've done, and I think that's really great because it's played into the wider public's hand to see that the division between them is so slight now that what Labor stands for and what Liberal stands for right now, it's only a smidge in between. I think Joel said something about it, is like, it's only a minor, and he's done this, only a minor little difference. And he's like, it's very, very minor.
This is important. Like, people say, what can I do? Or, and everyone feels, not everyone, a lot of people feel quite overwhelmed by this. Here's the thing, though. Remember this is a stat from late last year, so it may have changed a little bit in that time. But, okay, under current studies, guess what percentage of the population now get their news from the mainstream media? What number? 20%, right? It was 100 obviously, or 90 odd 8 before.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
in the 80s, it was like 100%.
we have flipped it completely. So, like shows like ours, stations like ours, fantastic stuff that you guys put out. Fantastic. Courage to Cure is amazing. Relentless is exactly that. Relentless. Yeah, we're all doing a bit. And the other thing to do is, in my opinion, is support each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, if you are out there and you are fighting for the everyday person, because we're fighting for, I'm fighting for my kids, right? Okay, and my grandkids, okay? And one day that'll be an issue in my life, and I want to know that I can stand tall and say I fought tooth and nail for the rights and the freedoms you have.
Yeah, you want to leave a legacy for them.
Damn straight. Yeah.
And the really important thing with unity is, because it's a word that's thrown around a lot, and it kind of gets poo-pooed because, people have problems with each other and groups,
sitting around
But ultimately, when you don't work towards collaboration and the collective influence, you actually miss opportunities to influence and to shape our future. You were just talking about children, and anybody knows what I do is because of the kids. If you get bogged down in the divisive stuff and and all that kind of stuff, you're missing that opportunity to shape the very future, which everyone is so concerned about. So you need to get over yourself.
You do,
and really focus on,
because most of us all hold the same core values, right?
Yeah,
we all hold the same core values. Don't sweat over the minor stuff. And hold on to the bigger vision. I think that's where we have to come.
Leave your ego at the door. And I'll tell you, I want to just talk about an organisation who does a really good job of bringing people together. Let's have a look at this little video.
Ever felt lost online finding the right businesses?
Absolutely, like a needle in a haystack.
Introducing the Worldwide Awake Business Directory.
Tell me more.
It's your hub for businesses sharing your values. Discover eco-friendly products, socially responsible services, and more.
Count me in. I'll check it out straight away.
Find businesses aligned with your values on the Worldwide Awake Business Directory. Start making a difference with every purchase. There's a wonderful organisation right there. So I would encourage you, if you've got a local business, go and join, of course, the WABN. Wonderful people. I kind of know someone who's involved with it. Yeah.
You do indeed.
I do indeed. I think it's important, though. We should support our own and we should support our local businesses
100%.
that support us. It's an important thing. Yeah. So there we go.
Amazing.
I wanted to just say, when we're talking about like schooling, I was listening to something and I can't remember, it was a independent podcast. I think it was actually on TikTok. And people were like, TikTok. I'm like, actually, there is some really, truly enlightening information and wisdom that comes from some, I mean, God, you got to flick through some garbage, but if you start following the right people, your algorithms change and you start having people come on that are like veterans or they're experts in certain fields. And they were talking about how, did you learn about your constitutional rights at school?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Now, this is the foundation of being an empowered soul in your nation.
I think they do in America, don't they?
They did. They used to,
Okay.
and they stopped it. And so this is where it comes back to. Never did I ever learn anything about our Australian Constitution. I mean, you know, I'm Gen X. That was a couple of decades ago. I was at school.
Same.
Yeah.
I never
So,
learned
you know,
anything.
And even when I reflect back to future generations and other people I've asked, they said they never learned it either. So
No.
in Australia, never once was our constitution that I can ever see or recall ever taught in school.
Even what they teach now is not relevant a lot of the time.
Of course
No,
it's not. So if you don't have a baseline understanding or comprehension of what your rights are in your own nation and where you can go from there, then how is it that you can truly be an empowered soul?
Lisa's come up on the screen, and the other Lisa might want to put her
Good
out.
old Rennie.
Lisa,
Just pop
grab
her
that
hand
one.
out there. That'd be fantastic. But Lisa L on the screen there, Jared Rennick has approached other parties to run joint Senate tickets in every state so we don't split votes.
Yeah.
Wonderful idea.
Good on you, Rennie.
One way to have a chance of getting good people into government, which is true. A lot of people, I don't think all people who go into politics are bad people, right?
Not at all.
Not at all. A lot of people have great sort of...
Babbitt and Rennie. They're like,
100%.
Babbitt is, you know, he wants to enshrine. He's introduced a bill trying to enshrine freedom of speech in our constitution. Because you know, we don't have a Bill of Rights.
Crazy.
You know, if anyone didn't know that, free speech is enshrined in our constitution. In case
It is protected by the High Court. But here's the problem, which is important,
Good luck
right?
getting to the High Court.
Yeah, exactly. Who's got the money? Supreme Court here in WA costs $200,000
You know
to
what?
get
You
to.
can represent yourself in High Court only if you understand what your rights are under our constitutional jurisdiction.
What I'm getting
So
at
if you
is
understand that, then you can vote.
you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. Whereas if we had a Bill of Rights, they would be protected. We wouldn't have to go to that level. So it is there, but just be aware.
I've got a question.
Getting heavy here.
Martini.
You've got a question.
Yes, because this
Put
is
your hand up.
this is the conundrum that I toil in my own mind, and I really like everyone's perspective because I haven't had this opportunity with four people at the same time. Because we saw during the COVID war that our constitution didn't protect us, even though it should have, from being forced to participate in the third phase trial drug experiment, right?
Correct.
And I understand what you're saying is that, you know, children, adults, everyone need to learn about our constitutional rights and apply it. But we've just had a lived experience that it didn't matter.
Well, that's because we didn't know.
Because we didn't know enough about it.
That if we had
I
known
feel.
that we would have been under a very different influence.
So
of our
if we had
political
known,
system.
what would have people have done?
I
More
think,
people.
I
in
think
the
it may.
knobheads that are running this country.
I think it may
So-
have empowered the person to take their own. To create their own way.
No, I understand what you're saying, but you know, when we're living we're not living under a dictatorship. Well, but let's just say. But anyway, right? We
Next
do,
week's show.
Victorians.
but we do have a constitution, so I don't think it's fair to expect the everyday citizen to push back and go, hey, you know, the government, you're doing the wrong thing and you're expecting me to take an experimental drug. It shouldn't even come to that.
course
Our
it shouldn't.
constitution should protect
Totally.
us
Look,
before it even comes to that.
most-
So that's a conundrum I have.
Totally.
I get it. Look, I
Um,
had two coppers come up to me in a shopping centre, right? Okay, and asked me why I'm not wearing a mask. Okay, and I said, well, a couple of things, but I basically said, No, not like that.
Nice hat.
I just said, basically, thanks very much, and just walked on. And they actually walked around and stood in front of me and said, no, why are you not wearing a mask? And I said, well, under the 1988 legislation, health legislation, you are actually not allowed to ask me that. So I'm just going to walk on.
Yeah.
And then the female cop walked around and stood in front of me again, and the male cop basically stopped her because realised that, that was the case.
You know what you're doing.
Now, most people don't know that.
Yes.
Okay, now that legislation, just so people know, well, I mean, you can't absolutely definitely say this, but you can say it to a 98% degree. That was put into law because people with AIDS were being discriminated against, okay? That's because, they weren't allowed at schools, young kids, people were losing their jobs. So they put that law in to try and stop discrimination. Isn't it funny that all these years later it becomes discrimination?
Totally. I did talk to police officers to try to come up and harass us on the beach during lockdown. We had a bit of a beach party. And there was a large group of us in Coombana Bay down at Bunbury, and 2 police officers. And I had kind of gone down the rabbit hole enough to realise what common law was about and common law officers. And so these police officers came up and they said, you're going to have to remove yourself. You can't sit here. And I said, and I interrogated them. I said, can you give me your badge number? Could you please identify yourself? I said, I'm recording this whole thing. I'd actually run out of data on my phone, so it was totally but it was very intimidating. I told him I was recording the whole thing. Exactly. Yeah. And I said, I'm identifying myself as a common law officer, and under the Constitution, I need to know who you are serving. Are you serving the people? Are you serving the corporation? And this young greenhorn, he was like, oh, no, and the other guy's like, shut up, mate, don't say anything.
Just walk off. This is not worth the argument.
And he was like, oh, well, we're not. It's like, no. This is I said, look, I've identified myself as a common law officer. I said, I have my paperwork to show you. I said, you need to identify yourself. I've informed you that we are not under your jurisdiction. Could you please call back to your he had to call back to the station. Within about 30 seconds, they removed themselves from the beach. Yeah. So I did. I'm a pretty ballsy kind of person.
Yeah.
So I had the courage to kind of. I did delve into it a little bit enough to go. I've got my paperwork.
No, you're right.
But not everyone is that.
And I was polite about it too. I said, I'm sorry. I said, you need to check with your station. I said, and they were like, what? And the young guy, then he came back and his brain was like, blip, blip, blip. What do you mean I'm not working for the people? You can see his poor little brain.
That's one of the things. You just said that not everyone's that brave.
Yeah.
Again, when you're solo, it's very difficult to tackle issues like that or forget larger issues. And that's why it's really important that people are together.
To
unite. So tell us about Canberra.
Oh, Canberra.
What's
we're definitely uniting at Canberra.
Yeah. So
this is about. So there's an inquiry into the offshore wind turbine consultation process, and it was a massive failure Australia-wide. So
consultation process for what?
The offshore wind turbine industry. So there's an inquiry that was brought to the Senate. It was voted in. So now it got through the Senate, right? So you would think that when it gets through the Senate, then there's enough people concerned about this industry going into our oceans that would cause massive destruction and a massive impact on our economy and leave us in immense amounts of debt, generational debt.
Exactly.
Not just generational debt. So I listened to, it wasn't just an economist, someone who is a good bean counter. Right. He was an accountant, and they said that if you work out how long it's going to take for each generation to pay off the debt they're creating, which is something into the hundreds of billions of dollars, getting towards the trillions. They said that basically it would be about 4 to 5 generations that you'll be putting your family, so your great-great-great-grandchildren, into debt to pay off for a system that won't even exist. It'll be rotting in the ocean because they're all going to go bankrupt, and all it was about was grants and subsidy grabs from foreign corporations. And so we have supported, it was Senator Ross Cadell that put forward the inquiry, and then it got voted in. So we pushed hard, and there was many, I can't remember the number, that was like a lot of submissions put in. Okay. Mine was amended, my submission, which is actually not allowed to happen. So They amended mine for reasons that there was photographic evidence about behaviour that happened in the Busselton consultation process.
Right.
So it's going to be very interesting because I'm sure they're trying to stop Martini Shepherd from testifying in the hearing next week.
Oh, wow.
So we have been trying to get confirmation of hearing dates and times. So you would think the due diligence from the federal government, if you're listening, little ASIO spies and all the rest of you, you have a due diligence to give the people that will be attending those hearings a correct date and time with due process. So we're out, it will be Wednesday or Thursday next week. We have asked in writing to the Secretariat of the Senate Committee, and they have refused to give us the correct day or times, and they're saying they're still working it out.
Now, this happens all the time.
We'll find it out.
This happens all the time.
No.
Remember
So
that...
we are going to be there, and we're not going anywhere until
Good
it's
on you.
sorted.
Now, remember that holy man who was stabbed in the eye, horrible thing, all of that, right? The government did the same thing, refused to give him the times when he was there. They asked him to speak, and then they withdrew the invitation.
And
they kept changing the dates.
So
same
this is
sort of
what
thing.
we're expecting, is
Absolutely.
that they're going to withdraw the invitation.
And they have an incredible habit of doing this. My submission
God help you, Canberra.
to the Senate inquiry into the family law courts,
Yeah.
they played with my submission as well, okay? And then I was supposed to speak, and then they actually made my whole submission disappear. They said, oh, it mentions people, so no problem. I gave them two versions, one with everything redacted, one of whatever. These people are slime. They really are, and they will do. They will. Oh, absolutely. All the tricks under the sun. Absolutely disgraceful. Now we are running out of time, so what I'm going to do is throw to these two lovely ladies here to do a big. I want a big sell about this rally on the weekend. Come on.
Well,
do you want to put the banner up again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, what is it? What are you looking forward to?
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a very good, well, two things, many things, but two that I'll mention. One, it will be wonderful to see all of the groups and speakers coming together because, you know, we didn't touch on it, but, you know, who are uniting behind the scenes? You know, I work in media. So we have local community leaders working with media. We have politicians working with media. We have non-profits and NGOs working with media. We've got researchers, other media hosts, the Aligned Council of Australia, the Light Australia newspaper, Reignite Democracy Australia with beautiful Pilo works with the media. So just with the media, there's a lot of people working behind the scenes. And so it'll be wonderful to see all of those groups you can see on your screen right now coming together and be a real example to everyone who does attend the rally that with unification within certain groups, and in particular, this one is focused around a theme, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
I think it's a great example, and also particularly very uplifting because, you know, everyone gets tired and weary. I think with Martine's efforts and your warrior woman power, which you were born with quite clearly, I think that will be disseminated amongst all of the people there. So I think it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I'm looking forward to it.
I can't believe you say that. This is not tiring at all. I'm 22.
Okay, for me, it's been 12 months of super, super hard slog. I'm not going to just minimize this at all. Breaking through big barriers between different groups, industries, and communities. And we have been able to do that, not just Save Our Beloved Geograph Bay, but all of the groups that we are aligned with have been doing the same. And we've all been saying, we're in this together. And that has been our philosophy from the beginning. We are in this together.
Yep.
We are united in this.
Agreed.
Just as we are Australia-wide with all the other groups on the East Coast.
Yep.
Big shout out to you. Thank you for all your love and support. We wouldn't be here without it. 𝐶𝐞𝐤 Barry Beautiful. They were a little bit ahead of us with their campaigning because their project up there kicked off before us. So to see them come down to the city and see these groups come down to the city and bring it to ground zero where they thought that they had at least safe votes because of the way that they've changed the way that their voting system is now. So to have them all come down to the city and have a voice, a platform where they can speak their truth and tell the stories that's happening in their communities, it's probably going to make me cry. I'm going to be honest.
You
Because
know what? You brought a good point,
so
though.
close to my heart.
Yeah.
The way that country people are just trodden down and walked on, and farmers are laid back.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they've been putting up with way too much for far too long.
Agreed. I want to say this, though, as far as what you were saying about, the way that McGowan and Crook and all of this mob changed things, changed the laws, changed the structure of how we vote to actually minimise the emphasis on country is disgusting, absolutely disgusting.
Abhorrent. Yeah.
It really is.
Terrible.
But there is always a silver lining because the man's a half-wit, right? Okay, and I'm talking it up. I think there's far less wit in there than, I truly can't
Less
stand
wit
it.
than half.
Yes, right.
It's a quarter wit.
I love coining terms.
Quarter wit.
We're getting to fractions.
Eighth of wit.
Okay, we're going to talk about McGowan. We're going to talk
Fraction
about
of a
Don't
McGowan.
need to trigger me now. Talking about
Oh look,
McGowan.
actually, you know what? We shouldn't be harsh. This is a man who's, he's a dad. He's got a young baby out there on the
Poor
side.
child.
Of course, we don't talk about that.
How
Of
is
course,
that baby, Mikey
How is-
Marks?
coming up for the first,
Little boy, was it?
coming up for his or her first birthday, by the way. But where I'm going on this
bless. We'd love
is
to come along.
yeah. I'll bring a cake. Anyway, but
The box has been opened
Damn
today.
straight. Where I'm going on this is that while they tried to minimise the power of the country voter, what they've actually done is kind of screwed up because they thought it, very small here. What they've done is opened 5 seats in the upper house, where
Thank you.
people like ourselves or people we support and those who actually want to be in the upper house will actually have the controlling vote and effectively a balance of power and can really genuinely change this state. So really think about your voting. Keep away from the majors, look at the minors, look at the independents. But when you do look at them, look at preferences. And also remember this, fundamental. You can choose your own preferences. You don't have to go with what people say.
That's right.
You have control of your
Above the
vote.
line, there's just one number that needs to go in.
And I'll just speak myself.
Speak
I've
away.
interviewed a number of independents. I'm going to be interviewing some One Nation people and libertarians in the next week. Go along to 𝐘𝐲 on Rumble and watch those interviews if you care about voting for the WSA election. People don't, whatever, but it's there. Done the work for you. Have a look.
Care
And
about your vote.
Following that, because you're a genius, is that we will also be doing another night together. The night before election, we'll be here live at Edge Radio.
Can I come?
You are. You were in this. You know that you're in this. Yeah, she doesn't remember. She wasn't even drinking
Always
that
the
day.
last to know.
So she's going to be covering the audience members here, and we're going to be having an overall of the independents and those that are running the parliament the next day in the state.
I didn't forget it was.
Yeah, I know. You're being dramatic. I like it. I like it. So if you are an independent or if you're a member of a party or whatever, and you
We'd
actually
love
want
to speak to you.
yes, come here and be heard because we'll do something very, very unusual for media, okay? We will not edit you. We will not
That's right.
censor you. You can say whatever you like, and obviously the video will go out to the entire world. And if you want votes, get involved, right? Simple as that. All right, I think we really have to get out of this thing. We've only gone 12 minutes over. That's pretty good by our standards around here, so that's great.
Thanks, ladies, for coming in.
Yeah,
Just want to say that.
Big
thank
love to you
Thank
both.
you for everything that
Actually,
you do.
huge love to all of you. You're all
such
absolutely
a-
amazing. I'm really glad. And the misogynist in me is just loving every moment.
Yeah.
All right.
The full
Yes, ladies.
Again, got me through high school. Anyway, I'm out of here. Thank you so much for being part of the one thing.
Vote if you want Robin to do the jingle for Edge.
Yes.
Oh, put up a poll.
Is
Put
she
up
gonna
a
do
poll.
it?
We will put up a poll. It's going to happen. It's Edge Radio Australia. Thanks for being part of the one thing.
Cheers.